All right, we're back at it today with 6.3 of the AP World Curriculum in the indigenous responses to state expansion. So obviously we're talking about this age of imperialism and Western European nations and the United States expanding into new territories. What kind of reaction are they going to get from the people that already live there? What you need to know, this is fitting into the theme of governance in the curriculum. These are questions about political authority and growing nationalism that will lead to anti-imperialist movements. Various forms of anti-imperialism are going to take shape. Sometimes we see direct resistance within empires and the creation of new states. And sometimes we see discontent with imperial rule, leading to rebellions that are sometimes influenced by religious ideas. So let's take a closer look at that idea of nationalism that we've long talked about. And I like to mention that there's really two types of nationalism. That nationalism, that feeling of a national unity based on your ethnicity or geography or maybe a language or other cultural ties that you have with the people around you. And you've got a country. You're France and you have a country and you love your country. That's nationalism. But then there's also the nationalism for those that don't have a nation of their own. Maybe their lands are controlled by some other empire. And the 19th century is going to see a rise in nationalist movements across Europe that will lead to new independent states. First, looking at Balkan nationalism. Now, the Balkan Peninsula is that southeastern European peninsula between the Mediterranean and Adriatic Seas and the Black Sea. And this region was long controlled by the Ottoman Empire. Remember, that's where the Ottoman Empire was using that devshirme system to get janissaries and bureaucrats for their sultan. In the 19th century, this wave of nationalism is going to spread to the Balkan Peninsula at the same time that the Ottoman Empire is experiencing its own weakness. And so we'll see independence movements from Serbia in 1815 and Greece a little bit later in 1832, who will each fight against and win their independence from the Ottoman Empire. Other regions, Bosnia, Montenegro, Bulgaria, will also rebel against the Ottoman Empire and gain some independence. In North America, we see some resistance from Native Americans against the expanding United States. The Ghost Dance movement was launched in the American West in 1869 that called for a return of lands to indigenous Americans. This would come to a violent end following the Wounded Knee Massacre led by the United States Army, and ultimately this movement will fail, and Native Americans in this region of the American West will be relocated to reservations. In South Asia, we see an example of a local resistance movement known as the Indian Rebellion of 1857, sometimes called the Sepoy Mutiny, because it begins following discrimination against sepoys. Sepoys were Indians who were working as soldiers for the British East India Company. Frustrations would grow over time with discriminations. They wouldn't get paid as much as their white counterparts. They didn't get promoted as much as their white counterparts. And then a controversy would rise with questions over how a new cartridge for their rifles were being greased. And this led to Hindus and Muslims within these sepoy populations rebelling against their company officers. And it leads to a massive rebellion across South Asia, across British-controlled South Asia. This will lead the British government to send even more troops into South Asia and ultimately replace the rule of these holdings from the British East India Company to now the British government. And so now Britain will be directly controlling the South Asian colony. They will use local Indians in many places to administer the colony. And in turn, many of those Indians that will be colonial administrators for the British will go to England for an education, learn British ways, take that back to India, and become the beginning of an Indian nationalist movement who will use Western ideas, Western Enlightenment philosophies to push for the independence of Indian people. And this will lead to the formation of what's called the Indian National Congress that will ultimately advocate and eventually get Indian self-rule in the 20th century. In Asia, we've got resistance in the Philippines. In the 1890s, we start to see revolts by Filipinos against Spanish control in the Philippines. We talked before about the growing propaganda movement in the Philippines. Well, by the 1890s, this is turning to some violent action. In the Spanish-American War, where the United States goes to war against Spain, and we see fighting in many of the Spanish colonies around the world, this will give Filipinos hope that they might gain independence if the United States defeated the Spanish. But they were wrong. The United States did defeat the Spanish, but the United States had eyes on the Philippines as an Asian colonial territory of its own. This leads to the Philippine-American War, where tens of thousands of Filipinos will be killed by the United States military as the United States tried to suppress these popular uprisings calling for independence. In Australia and New Zealand, there are resistance movements from Aboriginal or Indigenous people of Australia that had no land protections from the new British government. Very much the same thing that's going on in North America with Native Americans. Australian frontier wars took place through the 19th century, resulted in these Aboriginal people losing their land to the British. Across the sea in New Zealand, the Maori people also fought British settlers in what was known as the Maori War, as the British tried to pen in land for grazing. Again, ultimately, this is a defeat for the Maori, who will lose most of their lands to British control. In Africa, we see a number of resistance movements across the continent. In South Africa, the Zulu kingdom will resist the expansion of the British control of South Africa in what is called the Anglo-Zulu War. The Zulu actually win an early battle against the British, which just leads the British to bring even more soldiers to the area, and ultimately the defeat of the Zulu. To the north in the Sudan, the Mahdist rebellion or the Mahdist revolt in the 1880s saw Islamic Sudanese resisting the British and Egyptian controls in Sudan. They ultimately lost as well, and the British would take complete control of the Sudan. And in West Africa, in the kingdom of Asante, the Ya Asantewa War, where an Asante queen will lead a revolt against the British control of her kingdom. Again, the British would ultimately win. But we see countless examples of indigenous peoples resisting the expansion of European powers. So what do we want to take from this? Long-lasting empires like the Ottoman Empire will experience nationalist independence movements from their ethnic minorities, further weakening that empire. Anti-imperialist movements were going to take on various forms, often unsuccessful though, sometimes gaining independence. And discontent with rule would lead to resistance movements, often influenced by religious ideas in various parts of the world. We'll see you next time. Take care.